You use that to fuel your passion, and don't be denied. And stay true to your voice. Don't let anybody water your vision down. Surround yourself with people who are going to be supportive of your voice.
Kamusta mga kasama, and welcome to a new episode of Hoy Pinoy, powered by Samahan. My name is Summer.
I'm Christine.
And I'm Janine. Today we have a special guest joining us. We are joined by filmmaker Rod Pulido, who is celebrating the 20th anniversary of his classic Filipino-American film, The Flip Side.
Hello.
There it is.
There it is.
Hi.
My God, you really do look 25.
I know. How do you look?
Not just Photoshop.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
He doesn't age. Like if you look up the photos of him from the premiere, he looks exactly
the same. Yeah, I was just gonna say, oh my goodness. Is this a recording? All right, stroll to the questions here.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, we can just throw it out there and we can start.
He's
Yeah,
definitely asking the first one because she wrote it in Australian English and I can't say wild.
Generating film titles is a difficult task. You want it to be able to represent the essence of your film, whilst also capturing the interest and attention of your target audience. How did you come up with the title, The Flip Side, and what does this title mean to you?
Okay, well, the Flip Side has a couple meanings. Of course, it's short for the Filipino side. And it also means the B side, which is the side that you never hear. So since, we were, especially in 2000, late 90s, we were very lacking in representation. So that's the point I wanted to get across with the title.
I have a follow-up question on that. Like I know today, like flip is a term that can be kind of seen as derogatory, but a lot of us also like reclaim it. Have you seen any more like pushback on that over the years, or have people just kind of seen it as an embracing of that and a reclamation of the term?
Oh yeah, that was also kind of part of it too. When the movie first came out, there was a little bit of pushback, not a lot, but people would come up to me and say, "Hey, what are you calling your movie Flip?" That's, you know what that means, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to take the term back, and I also knew it kind of would generate a little controversy, so that's always good. But
start
yeah,
conversations, for sure.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter.
And it's definitely still doing that 20 years later, so hey.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah. I don't want to offend anyone by it, but my feeling is that it's a word, and if you let it offend you and you let people use it against you, then you're doing your job for them.
So The Flip Side was the first feature by a Filipino-American director to screen at the Sundance Film Festival, and it would not have gotten there without you. So tell us the humble beginnings of the film. What inspired you to create it, and how did all of this start?
When I first went into college, I was an art major, but then I'd always wanted to tell stories, our stories, and I was always a film buff, and I admired the work of Spike Lee very much. Do the Right Thing was a huge influence on me, and She's Gotta Have It, his first film. You could probably see the influence of that in the flip side. But I was really scared to take the leap. I knew that Long Beach State had a great film department, but I didn't know how my parents were going to react to me switching majors. But they were.
And your mom was in the film too, right?
Right. She's the mom.
So like there was some acceptance there, but like what was it like having her on set?
Yeah. I knew she was always, she'd tell us stories how she would love to perform when she was younger, and she wanted to be an actress, and so there wasn't really any question about casting her. I would joke around with her that I'm going on auditions, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna see actresses for the mom today. But I would scare her that way.
Oh.
Just kidding, but yeah, I always knew I was going to cast her.
Well, she was a really great cast. She's definitely a Filipino mom.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like
watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, this just like feels like, my house growing up. And I'm like, picturing back to like the early 2000s, that vibe. And, it definitely felt like I was watching a scene that could have played out of my own home or one of my cousin's homes.
Yeah, there was so many even very small choices in the background, the slippers, the scene with the slippers, no shoes in the house. I love it. It's like every moment had bits of Filipino in it, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
like Lolo spoon and fork in his bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really tried to play around with those details. Like if you notice, the first time the main character Darius comes into the house, he takes off his shoes.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, then we cut it automatically to his brother Davis, and he's wearing his shoes.
Inside the house.
I noticed that. I was like, all right, Davis is gonna be the rebel.
The rebel.
He does not care about those shoes.
Yeah, so I was really trying to play around with the issue of identity with the visuals. I don't know if people don't really notice, but I like pointing it out. But in the beginning sequence, the montage of the car driving, you never see the main character, and then every time we introduce a new member of the family, you never see their face directly. So I was just trying to play on that image of the lack of identity in the media. There's also a lot of symbolism with the black and white. I mean, I purposely shot in black and white.
What made you decide to do the black and white? I really like it. Yeah.
The theme of identity, and how, especially at the time, you only really saw black and white people in the media. And the tagline of the film is, "The world is not just black and white."
Yeah.
And so then we play around with shots a lot with that. There's a shot in the hallway after the sister Maravik talks to Darius, and she and Davis, they go into each other's respective rooms, and so Davis goes into a totally pitch black room, and Maravik goes into an overlit room. So, and then the, I guess, obvious symbolism would be like when Davis is making himself chocolate milk, he really puts in a lot of chocolate.
I was like, that's a little too much. Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Yeah, and then I think there's a scene where Maravik is eating Oreos. It's really.
I love how detailed it is. That's crazy.
One of the things that really interested me was because as Filipinos, Summer and I are in the States, and Janine is in Australia, so she's also in the diaspora. But you know, we noticed that a lot of Filipinos struggle to find themselves. And we, you know, here we have 3 siblings who are trying to find different places in society to fit in, right? Like Marivic is trying to assimilate herself into white society. And Davis is trying to assimilate himself, you know, into more of the Black culture. Like, you know, he appropriates AAVE. And then you have, you know, you have Darius, who's like really grounding himself in this Filipino culture, and they're like finding different ways of rooting themselves in America. And I thought that was interesting because I mean, I think we all have like relatives who have like, you know, gone one way or the other. Like I personally have cousins who are like super into basketball and hip hop. And then I have, you know, the cousins who like would only hang out with the white girls at school. And then I was the one who was like always like super rooted in Filipino culture. And it's like all in the same family. And we're just all trying to find our place in America.
Gratifying things is when people would come up to me, even years later, strangers would come up to me at parties and say, you know, I took my friend, I took my sister to see your movie, and she just totally broke down and cried because she's like, that's me up there. Like, he said from that point on, she made it a point to learn more about her history and her culture.
Wow.
I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I never had no idea that I would affect people on that level. I mean, that was always the goal, you know, aside from entertaining people, but just to hear it, people, I mean, to hear that people actually cried, I'm like, wow, sorry about that. I didn't want me to feel bad about yourself.
The nose thing is still very relevant too.
I remember, like, as a little girl, I remember staring at myself in the mirror and like looking at my nose and seeing how, you know, it was like flatter, it was bigger. And I remember thinking to myself, like, you know, maybe I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I remember thinking, well, you're going to have to do really well in school because you're never going to be pretty. This was the 90s. There was no representation. No one looked like me on TV. And it just, you know, it was hard. You know, you go to school and all the pretty girls, they're white. They don't look like you. And so to see, you know, someone out there on that screen and just saying so many of those things that I had felt, you know, growing up, and that I had like really internalized, it was powerful. It really was.
That's totally understandable. I mean, my wife would say the same things. You know, her mom would do that thing where, you know, put a note up.
The clothespin,
We know it.
Really sad. And I purposely wanted to cast a Panay who was pretty too, and just to show that, you know, there's nothing wrong with the way she looks. I mean, she's really pretty, but she can't stand the way she looks. It's sad.
I loved how this was an almost completely Filipino cast, which like even today you don't see that. You know, like you'll have some Filipino characters, but we never see like an all Filipino cast.
Right. And even if you do see a Filipino actor, half the time they're not even playing a Filipino character.
Yep.
And that's the Hudgens.
That's pretty much the reason why I never approached any studios with a screenplay, because I knew there's no way they would make it, and I wanted full control. You know, I didn't want to water down the story. I didn't want to dilute it in any way. I mean, I went to film school and I studied the history of film, and I knew that every time Hollywood puts out a film, you know, about people of color, it's always shown through a white lens. You know, you could go down the line, like there's Cry Freedom about Stephen Biko. You know, Denzel Washington plays Biko, but it's totally shown through the eyes of the Kevin Kline character. You know, and so I knew I didn't want that to happen. You know, and in order to be as pure to our story as possible without making any compromises, I knew I had to shoot it low budget and go about it the independent route.
About actually the budget. So did you fund the whole project yourself? And how did you keep the production costs like affordable and low without skimping on the quality?
Yeah, so after film school, I got a job as a substitute teacher because that was the only job that I could get that had a flexible schedule, you know, so I could write and, you know, work on the film. And so I saved all of my paychecks. Our shooting budget was roughly $8,000.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But I also got a grant from Panavision. They had this program called the New Filmmaker Program, where you submit a new filmmaker submit their script, and based on the script's merit, they'll give you grant funding. Well, for me, they gave a free camera package. So
Nice. Wow.
yeah, so we got to use their camera for about a month for the whole shoot. But
How long did it take to shoot the film?
Roughly 25 days, around there, between
25 days.
That's so quick. Wow.
something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
The
impressive.
cast and crew, they all stayed at the house. My mom made everybody breakfast.
Oh,
I love
that is
it.
so
salmon
I
eggs.
love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Silog.
Sometimes we
Tocino.
would use leftovers for the spam scene, or when the Lola.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, there was only one shower. I mean, downstairs shower that everybody had to use. And
Oh, wow.
I remember Joe Messians, the one who plays Davis. He would always take like half-hour showers, and everyone would get pissed. Like, you used up the hot water again. But that was part of the reason why I wanted everybody to be at one house, so we get that feeling of a real family, and
Emily.
everyone, all the actors could get on each other's nerves and carry over into the scenes.
Whose house was it?
It's my parents' house.
Oh,
wow.
Like for real, your friend.
Yeah, and we
So,
shot
like,
it in the house.
All of these like Filipino things, like the
Was it-
Spoon and Fork, the Last Supper. Was that like all your families?
For the most part, yeah. We had some stuff donated from
Okay.
from SIPA, Search to Involve Filipino. But let's see. Yeah,
I love it.
for the most part, everything, all this, I actually had to take down a lot of stuff. Stuff that I didn't think belonged, like a lot of paintings, and so sometimes the wall is bare, and I kind of wanted to do that too, just to show how the family doesn't have a whole lot going on as far as, I wanted to like focus all of the Filipino cultural stuff in the Lola's room for the most part, just to play with that space.
I really like that the Lola was all about the lottery tickets. That reminded me so much of my grandpa. It's a Filipino-American thing, especially. Like my grandpa and my dad were totally into playing the lottery. Like, my dad would be there every day practically. He'd go down to I remember the liquor store he would go to got held up when he was in there. Oh my God.
Yeah, he was in there. Then when he was buying a lot of tickets, and somebody held up the store, and he didn't care. The very next day, he was back there. Yeah, nothing was going to deter him from getting his lotto.
You know what's interesting though is, so I also have a grandmother that very rarely left her room or the house, but I recall when I was younger, she used to always watch the Powerball, and she would always have a ticket for it. But now that I think about it, I don't actually know where she was getting these lotto tickets from.
Like, did she like
You send someone out of the house to get it. Like, I remember someone would be like, okay, go to the store, get a calling card so we can get call your Lola, and then get a scratch off. So I'd like go. It's just like a very Filipino thing, right? You're like going over to the gas station, getting one of those, because this is like before Skype, right? So we had to
do the call cards.
do
Yeah.
the calling card. Remember how they always like drop off? And like kids don't, they don't know.
When I was growing up, my family actually had a Filipino store, and we used to sell those calling card things to call the Philippines.
That's where your Lola was getting those tickets. She was sneaking down to the store when everyone's asleep.
I love that they don't actually show him ever leaving the room other than eating the spam and then leaving for the Philippines.
I think we do show him one time sneaking out to get his lotto ticket, but we don't explain what he's doing.
What he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to show how he's so isolated, you know, and the family basically ignores him. And yeah, the ending when he leaves, you know, I wanted it to be a big moment. So we shot that take in one shot. It takes him all the way from his room all the way out to the taxi cab.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I love that. And the Lola was in the uniform and everything.
I
It was so
know.
cute.
right. Yeah, that was Manong Puping Bucklig's own uniform.
Was it the Bataan one?
Yeah, he was a survivor of the Bataan Death March, just like my own Lolo, Alfredo.
Yeah, my great uncle, my Lolo Vic, he was in Bataan too. And you know, that's something we don't talk about in American schools. I remember I took a contemporary U.S. history class in college, and we talked about World War II in the Philippines and Bataan. And, you know, we never talked about the Filipino soldiers. And
Right.
I remember, you know, standing up in the middle of class and saying, you know, there were Filipinos who were captured. There were Filipino soldiers fighting alongside the Americans. And so I think it's a, you know, powerful moment to, you know, have one of the earliest examples of Filipino-American cinema have a veteran of that war, because the Filipino soldiers and the Filipino-American soldiers, their stories are not heard.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, like how many of those veterans did just hole up in their rooms and not talk, and, you know, they're here and they're isolated. And I think that was really moving for me to see, just because that's still such a, you know, important and understated part of our history.
Yeah, God, when we were shooting that scene, God, it was just so quiet, and everybody on set just knew the weight of the scene, and we all just felt privileged to be able to witness a survivor of the Death March playing that scene out. I mean, we all knew the significance of it. I mean, I've said so many times before that scene is the reason why I shot the movie, why I wanted to make the movie. I knew it was the key scene in the whole production. You know, because throughout the whole movie, the brother and sister are just so obsessed with black and white culture and know nothing about themselves. And finally, here's a Filipino hero that we get to hear straight from his mouth what he went through. And like Daria says, kids never hear about that in their history classes, especially in high school. Yeah, it just shows you, I mean, especially back when the movie was out, you know, we just really had no identity. I mean, things have changed.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten better, you know.
A little bit.
A little better. You know, our stories still aren't being told. You know, we're playing the best friend, you know, or the girlfriend.
It's true. Yeah.
You know, but like Christine said, you never see a cast that's completely Pinoy, you know, it's unapologetically too. The Flip Side came out 20 years ago, and it's still the only film to ever to get into Sundance. And in a way, I mean, that is a sense of pride for me, but for the most part, it just shows you, it's a reflection. It's just a reflection of how we really have no visibility in Hollywood, and nobody to fight for our stories. And it really just kind of sickens me. And when people bring it up, you know, I feel more anger towards that, you know, than pride. You know, people would say the same thing to me, you know, well, why don't you just, you know, maybe since you have your foot in the door, why don't you just, you know, change the story, you know, compromise a little, you know. But even if I did, there was no guarantee that they were gonna make my film. And even then, I knew.
Or if they would stop at that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, if they decide they want to go forward with it, you know, there's no telling what other changes they're going to make. You know, they could even replace me. You know, I didn't get into filmmaking, you know, to write other people's scripts. I did not want to do that, because I wanted to write about our experience, and the main rule of writing is to write what and that's what
Exactly.
I was doing, and I've strongly felt, if other people get to tell their stories, why can't I? It's understandable,
Any art.
why young Pinoys and Pinays don't pursue the arts. There's very, very little support within people within their family or the community, and it's I look back on it now. A lot of people think that it was, I admit, I'm the first to admit that my film got a lot of love, especially as an indie film, because I know a lot of Pinoy and Pinay filmmakers that made features and shorts, and their films never found a wider audience like mine did, or the debut. But it has to be said, I also got a lot of hate too. A lot of people thought I was a big joke. People laughing at me because I was a substitute teacher, and had this crazy pipe dream of making a feature film, and people would call me, like, mockingly. They would call me, "Hey, what's up, Spike?" It's like Spike Lee, or like, just totally clowning me, and it's really sad, because then those people who were making fun of me when the flip side was out, and I was getting all this attention from Asian media, all of a sudden they're kissing my ass and pretending like they're my best friend. I'm like, and I would tell them straight up, I remember what you used to say to me, man. I don't think I'm gonna forget that. Don't get me wrong, for the most part though, my family, especially my family, they've been so supportive, that especially back then, and my real friends, you can always, who your real friends are, when you're struggling, and those are the people I remember, and I'm thankful for.
You said you're working on things. Are you working on things currently right now?
So after I was in Hollywood for a couple of years and taking meetings and going through the same old BS, I just for my sanity, I had to drop out. I went that whole cliche of my agent not returning my calls, and I actually tried to get put up for a lot of TV shows. I wrote specs for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Office, The Simpsons, but no writing staff would hire me. So then I had a son. My wife and I adopted our son Alex, and it was such a surprise, because we've been wanting to adopt for like 5 years, and we never had any birth parents call on us. So then what happened was, after going through the Hollywood runaround, I decided I was going to go back to my roots of indie filmmaking, guerrilla filmmaking. So I wrote this mock documentary. It was about the 15th anniversary of an online dating site. But what happened is our son was born, right? And I knew that there was no way I could do what I did with the flip side again, trying to produce it independently, because my wife had the more stable job, and somebody had to stay with the baby. So, I became Mr. Mom, and, but I remember my screenplay, screenplay on completeyou.com. What I did with it is I entered Scriptapalooza, which at the time was one of the biggest screenwriting contests in the country. And I think about like 3,000 people entered. And so then after my son was born, they would announce the latest cut on their website. So I would have my son in my lap, and every week they would whittle it down. So the first cut was like the first 1,000 to make it, and so I made that. then the next 500, then the next 100, then 50, then I made it all the way to the top 10.
Wow.
And what's funny though is the prize I won, all I got was the same screenwriting software that I wrote the script on.
Oh.
They also sent the top 10 screenplays out to producers, but of course nobody wanted to make it, you know. But I knew even after that, there was no way I could make the film like I did with The Flip Side, because it's an all-encompassing endeavor, you know, to make a indie film all by yourself without any help, you know. So then I decided, well, you know, if I can't be a filmmaker, maybe I'll try to be an author. And so like for the last few years, I've basically through trial and error taught myself how to write prose and taught myself how to write for the YA genre. And then I was able to get an agent, a literary agent, through the Twitter contest, DV Pit, where basically is authors, people of color, aspiring authors pitch their novel, and then interested agents will star it or like it, and then if they like your pitch, then you send in your query letter and then from there, if they want to represent you, they'll ask for, you know, the full manuscript. So from there, I was able to get an agent, and I do have 2 finished manuscripts. So I don't really want to talk about them because my main rule is, you know, I don't like talking about projects before it's time, because like I remember I learned this lesson the hard way, because after I got into Sundance and my b-boy script was called Hip Hop Don't Stop. When that was being shopped around, I basically told anyone who interviewed me about that project, and then it never came to fruition. So ever since then, like, you know, I'm not talking about anything until it's time, you know. So, you know, if you guys want to interview me once I get a book deal.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely will.
Definitely. We'll post it on SFT too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But you won't be able to shut me up then.
I definitely think that, you know, the difference between 20 years ago and now is Asian Americans are definitely getting more, getting a better reputation. We still have a lot of work to do, but I do think, like, do you guys know about the singer Olivia Rodrigo? She's like part Filipino. We're seeing a lot of like a mix. I just think I'm trying not to be biased, but I do think Filipinos are some of the most like talented and most hardworking people. And I just think that we don't get enough support, and slowly that's changing. And I think podcasts like this, conversations, you know, communities that are trying to be more confident and are trying to support other people. I think I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the future, I think. Yeah,
all we can go is up. And that's true though. If you look at most of the Filipinos out there, they're usually half.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on down the line, you know, Haley Steinfeld, Bruno
Vanessa
Mars.
Hutchins.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and I know that isn't by accident. You know, I mean, they don't just I mean, casting people know what they're doing.
Yeah, we're considered to be more acceptable. I can't fault people, you know, like Vanessa Hudgens, who like want that foot in the door and they're gonna take it. You know, I'm not gonna like fault someone for doing what they have to do to get that leg up.
Yeah, I totally feel that way too. You know, anyone from our community, you got to cheer their success.
Yep.
Yeah, this has been like really heavy. It's been a very intense conversation, but I do have one question that has been bothering me since the first time, you know, I saw the movie like a year or so ago.
Okay.
What the heck happens to Kurt's dog?
That's great. Thank you for noticing.
Dog is tied to the tree, and I'm like, oh no.
That's what I was saying too, because we never see him again.
Yeah, what happened?
That's so great, man. People tend to forget that. I don't know. You probably just left them there.
No,
Oh my god.
I'm sure he went back.
Him.
I'm sure they went back after a while.
Oh my
you know,
god, so
after-
sad.
Well, maybe someone would have adopted him when they found him there.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's
One of the-
just
one of the
there's like this
unanswered
scene, he's like chewing at the leash, he's so cute. I'm like, the poor puppy.
Yeah, actually, the dog was one of our crew members' friend. You know, I needed a dog, and so then he he brought it in, and what's hilarious is that at our LA premiere, they brought all of their friends, and when the dog shows up, you just hear this huge cheer in the theater. This is at the Directors Guild of America, and when the dog shows up, they're all like, "Ah, Louis' dog, Louis' dog."
Oh, that's funny. Oh, okay, I have one question. It's a bit controversial. I know that this was filmed 20 years ago, but watching it yesterday, I couldn't help but cringe when they used the N-word.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
it's tough for me to watch
yeah.
too. Yeah, and you know, back in the day, 20 years ago, that's how Filipinos talked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it really sickened me, you know. And in college especially, a lot of people in our Filipino organization talked like that, and I'd always call them on it. So I've never used that word. I don't approve of that word, but it's in the movie for a reason, to make a point, you know, to show how ignorant and really stupid these characters are. You know?
And you know, we still see it today, where a lot of people are like, "Well, I'm not white, I can use it," or my friends use it, and you know, we see it a lot. And so I think it is hard to hear, but I also think that, you know, Asians, we also need to confront our anti-blackness that have, and it really makes you look at that.
Yeah, and I would say like 99% of the Black people that I've spoken to who've seen the movie, they get it. You know, they get the point I'm trying to make. I know today, in today's politically correct climate, you know, that word is understandably frowned on. And you know, if I were to make the film today, I'm not sure if I could put it. I would put it in there. You know, and just because of the times and being respectful of the Black community, you know, but, you know, back then, that's how Filipinos talked all the time. And I'm not even talking about, you know, straight up racist people, you know, I mean,
we even see it today, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it's just people who are uneducated,
Aquafina,
you know.
who,
Yeah.
you know, like Aquafina has been called out for using AAVE. And you know, it's something that we see. So it's hard to hear it, yes, but it's reflective.
Yeah. So I think that especially for the time, it was important that the characters talk like that, because I really wanted to call Filipinos out on their vocabulary, you know, that it's not acceptable. You know, I wanted to hold up the mirror to them, you know, and show them this is how you're acting. And it's not all that far off of an exaggeration too.
And we do have Darius who's in there saying, you know, like, I mean, he doesn't like straight up say, hey, this is unacceptable, but he's, you know, saying, this is not the term, you know, we use.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I remember back in that era when, you know, I know a lot of Filipinos who used it, and I don't think they realized how harmful it was and the damage they were doing. Just like a lot of people today don't realize the danger and, you know, why it's wrong to use that word.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. But anytime anyone uses that word around me, even today, you know, I call them on it.
Yeah, same. Oh, I will not
Yeah.
accept, or I will
Me
try my
too.
best to educate them, I guess, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
Same.
I mean that's the whole point. I mean, you don't want to come at them, in the wrong way. I don't want to be condescending to them, but
Mhm.
people need to be educated on why that word isn't acceptable. Yeah, okay, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I thought I was scared for a minute there.
No, it made sense in the film, but I was interested to know your
Yeah.
opinion and your view on that.
Yeah.
One final question.
Okay.
For any other, not controversial, for any other,
like scared.
for any other like Filipino creatives, we're all creatives here. I'm a musician. What kind of advice can you give us to basically, I don't know, be successful?
Oh, wow, how to be successful. I think maybe you have to surround yourself with people who are supportive, and the people, the naysayers, the ones who are not supportive, just to use that as fuel, to motivate yourself. That really helped me. I'm like, every time somebody came at me, saying that I'm just a dreamer, I remember every single person, and I made it a point, to call them on it, after the film came out, and yeah, I would say, just use that to fuel your passion, and don't be denied, and stay true to your voice. Don't let anybody water your vision down. Surround yourself with people who are going to be supportive of your voice. And I would say, whatever your field is, whether it's music, acting, filmmaking, just to approach it with integrity, to tell your stories as honest as possible, and of course to learn your craft. I met a lot of filmmakers back in my day who really didn't know a lot about filmmaking. They didn't study. They didn't. I mean, I'm not saying you got to go to film school or whatever your discipline is, but you have to put in the work to learn your craft. Read everything you can and learn by doing. But yeah, other than that, try to be positive, and I guess try not to look at the end result. Try to look at the journey and see that it's a progression. That every day you're learning more, and you're arming yourself. You're giving yourself the ammunition to take on the world, take on your field.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
That's all I got.
I feel
No,
so,
that's
like,
good. I'm
motivated
inspired.
right now.
Yeah. That's
Um,
awesome. Thank you so
alright.
much. That was
Thank you for being
amazing.
here.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
If
fun.
people want to watch this film, how could they find it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. So
YouTube.
just search
Yeah,
for it.
YouTube.
I watched it on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll make sure to share a link to that.
Yeah, it's gonna because before the pandemic, the flip side kind of became this urban legend. Like everybody kind of had, well, I wouldn't say everybody, but the community had heard about, but a lot of people hadn't seen because it was out of theaters for so long, and I didn't have it distributed because nobody wanted to pick it up.
Oh.
So it just stayed in the vault for years, and then during the pandemic, I put it out on YouTube, and it's like, man, this whole new generation discovered the movie, and man, that was really surprising that people could still relate to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so from now on, I'm just gonna leave it up on YouTube. Whoever wants to watch it.
Yeah,
Also,
let's make it go viral. Let's go.
Yeah.
In
We
2021.
gotta make more memes.
We gotta do it.
Yeah.
all right. Well, it was nice meeting all of you.
It was nice.
Thank
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Have
Have
a
a wonderful rest of your
Bye.
day.
Okay, you
Bye.
too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.